Good afternoon, everyone. Today, in this lecture, we are going to see software change management. It is a baseline which is achieved by SEI, that is Software Engineering Institute. Baseline is a software configuration management concept that helps to control changes. So, in our software, we take requirements from the user and we start our analysis, our design, our coding, etc. But in between, if there are any changes, then those changes shall be considered or ignored whether they are worth. So we have software change management activity. As you can see there, the approval of baseline is obtained through FTRs, that is formal technical reviews. The common software baselines are shown in the figure below. You can see there in software engineering, you go for requirement analysis. You also see the system specifications. After that, you do system requirement specifications, that is SRS. Then you reach the designing phase. You take care of all the design specifications. Later on, you go for coding, that is the source code. Once the code is done, you can begin the testing. Some test plans, some test procedures will be applied. Finally, you will release your software. You will see which operating systems it supports, what are the limitations. This figure indicates the generations of baselines. From the left hand side, you can see software engineering gives you SCI, software configuration item. Now this software configuration item is given for FTR, that is formal technical review. After the review, the SCI, if it is worth, then it is saved in the configuration database. Some another SCI is again given to software engineering. Again it gives, software engineering gives the SCI to FTR, and this process continues. So software configuration management gives software configuration item. So whenever there is a change that has to be incorporated into the software, you have to see the contents of change management and plan. So change management maintains the standards and procedures which should be used frequently. It consists of the following. So the list of entities to be changed is prepared. Formal schemes to identify these changes or entities is developed. The change management process is applied as soon as the software's or development becomes SCI, that is software change item. Now the information regarding responsibility for the change management process, the change management policies that are used for change control and version control management. So you just can't keep the changes as you want. You just cannot change the versions of the software as and when you want. There is some procedure for that. List of tools to be used for change management. Let us see the definitions of change management database management system. There is a software configuration item, there is a configuration database management. You have already seen what is SCI in that diagram previously. Configuration database, list of customers who have taken the delivery of a particular version of a software. We must know who are the customer is using which version of the software, what hardware and operating system is required to run a particular software system version, number of versions created with details, date, etc., which versions are affected if any, components or changes. One must know that what changes will affect their software's smooth function, how many changes requests are outstanding, awaiting on a particular version, how many recorded faults exists on a particular version. Let us see change management process. How do we manage the changes? In software, changes must be controlled. If not controlled properly, may lead to software failure. So there are many requirements for some minor or major changes in the software. One must keep a track of all these change requests. The software change process CMP and associated tools ensures that the changes are recorded properly and applied to the software is a cost-effective way. The change management is applied as soon as the software becomes a software configuration item, SCI. The CMP is as follows. Now you have to observe very carefully all these activities in this algorithm. It begins with need for changes required. So when you make changes, when you want to make some changes, when you are willing to accept some changes in your software or a particular version of a software, we say that there is a need for changes is required. Once the need of changes required is accomplished, the change required by user comes to CRF, that is the change request form. So once you identify that the change is valid, you need to fill the CRF. Now, the developer evaluates the changes required. The developer evaluates the CRF. Then the developer makes a change report. So you can see there change report is generated. Now the change control board or the CCB decides whether that change is to be considered, whether that change is to be made on the left hand side, and on the right hand side you may ignore or discard the change. So on the right hand side we will see first the design or changes required are denied and the user is also informed. Whomsoever had made the request for that change is informed that the request for the change is ignored or denied. On the left hand side you can see that the CCB request is queued for action because there may be many requests for change. So the changes which are considered to be incorporated are queued. Then ECO is generated, that is engineering change order. So for every valid change, an ECO is generated. You can consider it as an identifier. So every change request should be unique, and every change request shall be identified uniquely. Then we assign individual or a group to configuration object with respect to a particular change. Then we make changes if any, or we give justification that why those changes cannot be incorporated. Once this is done, we review the changes, check in configuration item that have been changed. Whatever is changed, we need to check it. Establish a baseline for testing. Again, we need to test it. Perform quality assurance and testing activity. We need to check the quality. We need to perform quality assurance. Prompt changes for inclusion in the next version or next release. Rebuild appropriate versions of software. We'll have to incorporate the changes in appropriate versions. Review the changes to all configuration items. We must review all whatever changes are done. Include the changes in the next version. If you are making or developing the next version, we see that the previous version change requests are considered incorporated. Last but not the least is to distribute the new version.